Hi. In this video today, I'm going to talk about why you don't have enough time to get everything done on your task list and what to do about it so that you can get everything done on your task list. Pretty basic, but illuminating, I hope. For anyone who doesn't know me, I'm Alessandra, or Ali for short. I'm a seasoned tech entrepreneur who co-founded a pioneering climate tech and crypto company that paved the way for a booming industry. Now I work with entrepreneurs, founders who are looking to build their businesses that they love without burning out. The reason why I'm doing this video is because one of the biggest issues that my clients often come to me for help with is time management. How do they get the things done that they need to get done? It's actually quite funny because I don't think it's another system. It's not another Kanban or Agile system. There are some skills, some practices that are fundamental, which we'll get into in this video. And yes, those tools, those frameworks are helpful, but it's really a mindset and a relationship with time and ourselves and our priorities that lay the foundation for being successful with what we plan on doing and what we actually end up doing. In today's society, we measure our success, even our self-worth, based off of how much we got done, how much we produced or accomplished in a set amount of time. And it's just bonkers. This is not at all an accurate depiction of your worth or your productivity. Take, for example, using 1 hour of time. In 1 hour of time, let's say I'm supposed to be doing some task or reading. Okay, reading. Everybody seems to struggle with reading, sitting down and reading a book. Not everybody. A lot of people today with our short attention span seem to struggle with sitting down and reading a book because it just feels so laboriously slow, right? So let's say I want to read for an hour. I've set that as a goal or a habit that I want to achieve in my life. And I can read the same page over and over and over and over and over. An hour goes by and I've read 3 pages. So you know that spending an hour reading does not mean that you actually got value. Spending an hour of time reading, that doesn't really say much as to what you actually accomplished or what value you got out of it. Also, those 3 pages could have been incredibly insightful and deep and complicated, and you could have read them over and over again to glean deeper meaning. That is what matters, not the unit of time spent doing a task. Versus another examples, I'm sure many of you are familiar with flow states, right? The idea of, I can get into a task, we'll get into flow. This happens a lot for creative people, for coders as well. It's so engaging to be coding and creating things, and next thing you know, 5 hours have gone by. But that 1 hour of coding got a lot more value out of 1 hour forcing yourself to read something that wasn't inspiring to you or you were not focused, etc. The key here is point number 1. The hours or the time that we spent doing something does not equal productivity. It does not equal value add to your life. It does not equal to you being better or having accomplished something. It could, but it is most often not the right measurement. Time should just measure time, not value, period. And the reason why I take the time to explain this point is because we spend so much of our time trying to accomplish more, thinking it will help us feel better about ourselves, more worthy, more accomplished, closer to achieving our goal. The truth is we set these really unreasonable expectations of getting way too much done in an amount of time that we don't have, because those things could take hundreds of hours to do, and we've got 24 hours in a day. So we'll talk about in this video how to stop setting yourself up for failure and start setting yourself up for success. So for example, what if I said to you, fill this cup with all the grains of sand that you find on the beach? And if you don't, then you are bad at your job, pretty useless, and should go get fixed by someone because you're broken. What would you say to me? I'd hope you would rationally say that makes no sense. My value or the measure of how good I am at my job has nothing to do with an impossible task of filling one little glass with all the sand on the beach. I wish you would say this to yourself on a regular basis, because we are constantly setting ourselves up for failure, for disappointment, of feeling like we didn't accomplish everything we should have done in the day and therefore aren't a good leader or not a good entrepreneur or not cut out for this or an imposter or just all the negative, icky things. And my point here is I really want us to get comfortable with the fact that we are constantly on a society asking way too much of ourselves and each other. With some awareness in this mindset video, you can understand what's going on for you. What are some of the habits, the cycles, the expectations you've been setting for yourself with regard to your own relationship with time to break and disrupt those habits and cycles such that you lead by example and stop manifesting these same cycles in other people with your own expectations, especially if you're a leader. So let's also look back at our historical relationship with time. If we're going to talk about what is our relationship with time today, the global 24-hour clock is relatively new, right? Around the 18th, 19th century, with the birth of the Industrial Revolution, time was commoditized to maximize productivity for laborers. And yet nowadays we have outsourced so much of or replaced so much of the labor with robots, automations, etc. And yet we still find ourselves consistently psychologically, physically, emotionally burnt out because we are just pushing that goalpost further for what we need to get done in the time we have available. Now, I want to say something that is quite nuanced, and I hope you can catch the distinction. Earlier, I said, get rid of the notion that 1 unit of time, 1 hour of time is a measure of the value that you provide or the things that you produce. Yet, I still need you to acknowledge a true fact that cannot be changed. There are 24 hours in our days. So stop expecting yourself to do the impossible, which is fitting 100 hours worth of work in a 24-hour day. Recognizing too that you need to sleep, you need to eat, you need to go outside, you need to ground. There are so many other things beyond work. Nothing I'm saying here is new. I'm really just trying to provide a reminder for you to give yourself permission to not do it all today. So let's take a look at, given the fact that I have 24 hours a day, what do I do with them? The first thing is be clear on your priorities. Too often, too many people are not clear about what their priorities are. So ask yourself, what are the 3 most important things that you are accountable for and responsible for getting done in your job or in your life? What are your priorities? How does wellness fit in? How does your relationships, personal, your friendships, your community, your romantic relationships, what do they fit in? What does your business fit in? How do these all balance? It's not a hierarchy necessarily, but what are your most important priorities in life? Understand really well an illustrated version of the life you want to live. The second thing is ask yourself, am I respecting those priorities? Take a list of those priorities and start to rank them. Like, what's really, really the most important thing? Because the habits attached with observing priorities like wellness, I want 7 to 8 hours of sleep a day, that does have some time measurement, right? Some tasks will take time. The gym 3 or 4 times a week. These are important things to note. So rank order in your priorities. What are the most important things, right? And nothing shares the same spot. So it should not be, oh, well, sleep is the same as gym. No, you have to pick which one is more important. So sleeping 7, 8 hours is more important to do it every day. Checking my email for an hour, is that super important, or is that below having a one-on-one with my colleague, right? You need to be able to rank order these. 3, now get in the habit of planning your time in a proactive way. Too often we find ourselves reacting to things. And it's so enticing to have something urgent come across your desk. You've planned your day. You're like, oh, I've got all these things on my schedule. I know what I have to work on today and this week. The Slack message comes in. The Teams message comes in. Oh, we need this done. This customer has an issue with this contract, or we need to build this new feature, or the website is down. Whatever, countless things could happen. You need to make sure that you are planning for reactivity as opposed to being drawn in for reactivity. So when I say plan your day, plan your week, plan time to react. This is buffer time. It could move anywhere. It can be agile. But the idea is you're not expecting there to be nothing that pops up. If you find a week goes by and you accomplished everything that you set your time aside for, and nothing came up that was urgent, then you've just gained 6 hours to do something impulsively inspired from your task list or otherwise, which I don't know will actually happen because there's always something going on, but that's the aspiration. Be proactive about your time and your planning by understanding first your priorities, how those rank for each other, and then respecting those priorities, which gets me to boundaries. Set boundaries for your time and for yourself. I'm going to do a whole separate video on boundaries because it is such an important and kind of vague topic that people talk about a lot now, but people don't really know. How do you respect them? What's important to remember is be respectful and have time boundaries. Am I going to go to the gym for an hour every day, or am I going to make time to check my email for 20 minutes every day after lunch, like a quick skim and find the most important things to address, etc.? Boundaries are so important because if you don't have them, then this prioritization exercise didn't matter. And the boundaries are what stop you from falling into the pitfall, that awful negative cycle that gets you to a place where you have too much to do on your list, too little time to do it, and then you feel like a failure, and you lead to chronic stress, and it leads to burnout, it leads to a low sense of self-worth, leads to increased imposter syndrome, etc. So boundaries and time boundaries, respecting what your priorities are, what you plan for, and the rest does not come in, is key. And we'll also talk about the next thing. Work in your zone of genius. This is a concept from the conscious leadership framework that I love and will do another video on. It requires a much more in-depth analysis, but essentially, are you doing things that you are both very good at, like excel at, but also feel passionate about? Anything outside of those should be either delegated or removed. Check out that video in a separate link. So you've identified your priorities, you've clearly rank ordered those priorities, you've set your time boundaries, and now you're proactively planning your month, your day, your week, and yearly goals according to a grand plan of what you would love your life to look like. The next step is iterate, right? I love the idea of the weekly planning. So at the end of the week on a Friday, I've assessed what still needs to get done. Do they match my priorities? Put them on for the next week. And then when Monday comes around, look at your plan. Does this match up? Like, is this where you're going to spend your time? Okay, yes, move forward. There are many other tools and tips for you to do this. Like, I really like bullet journaling. There's plenty of resources online about that. I find that really helpful, but that's not what I'm going to get into here. Next, I want to talk about feedback loops and why it's so important. So what happens with us when we have a list of 100 hours worth of work to do in a 24-hour day is when the day is over and we didn't get that done, we feel like poop about ourselves, right? And that's not good. Like, you feel chronically stressed, burnt out, like you didn't accomplish anything, you have imposter syndrome, you feel like someone else would have done this, etc. It's not true. You just expected the impossible, so cut it. Cut the crap and do what is actually reasonable. Be smart about your time and your priorities. And the importance of this too is to disrupt a negative cycle, a spiral downwards that makes you feel unaccomplished and not worthy of finishing things that you've set out to do. Instead, focus on building positive feedback loops, positive spirals that make you feel good about yourself. So imagine in your day, you plan to get these 6 key things done for yourself at work for the week. And at the end of the week, you've completed 5. How does that feel compared to you plan to get 10 things done and you completed 5? I bet you feel a lot better that you completed 5 out of 6 than 5 out of 10. So regardless, you're going to get 5 done anyway. Set the goal, bring the goal closer, be more reasonable, be smarter about setting your goals so that you feel good about how you accomplish them. So you can actually fuel that sense of positive feedback where the next day you're inspired to get back to work. Like, man, I got things done. I killed it. I'm going to do it again. Remember, this is a marathon, not a sprint. Your life is a marathon, not a sprint. The average lifespan for a human in the developed world is between 77 for men and 80 years old for women. That's a lot of time. Now, I want to remind you, you're not guaranteed that time. You're not guaranteed the 77 years. You're not guaranteed the 80. I would love to remind you all to take a moment to be present today. Appreciate what's going on for you. Appreciate the present moment. It's finite and infinite in all its glory. Don't put off being happy for some goal or some future state. It is guarantee recipe for misery and sadness. Be glad, romanticize the present, be glad for where you are today. When we're talking about time management and being present, enjoy today, tomorrow's not guarantee. It's not, don't do anything, just YOLO, do whatever you want. It's not my style at all. Imagine I'm a farmer and I planted some crops. I planted some tomatoes and yielding tomatoes. I also planted seeds for my future crops so that tomorrow or in the appropriate time, I can yield another tomato. The idea is enjoy the yield you have today from the seed you planted yesterday and plant more seeds today. Do it with calm. Do it with presence. Do it with acknowledging your humanity, the finite 24 hours in the day. Do it with appreciation that when you prioritize the things that you want to do in life, you enjoy them better, you get things done, you set yourself up for success, you build a positive feedback loop, because ultimately, all the things we're expecting to accomplish in life, we think will make us feel better. We think once our startup is successful, we'll feel better about ourselves. Once we get that funding, we'll be happy. And the truth is, it's just not true. If there's anything that you take away from this video or any of the videos that I publish, please recognize that the present moment is the most important thing that you have. By waiting for tomorrow or for some future state to make you happy or feel fulfilled, you will forever be unhappy, burnt out, and feel less than. You have all the abundance you need today. Remember, you have lots of abundance in your present moment today. You are fully worthy. You're fully capable today. It's just that you had fallen prey to toxic ideas of today's society, which is to get everything done in a finite amount of time. If you're able to break these cycles, you'll feel better for yourself. And then you'll model as a leader how it is to be clear on your priorities, be clear on setting time boundaries for the priorities, and on executing those things. And then that gives others permission to do the same. So the key aspect of leadership is to model the behavior that you want the rest of your team to have. I hope that was helpful, illuminating and inspiring, and also just kind of like permission to give yourself some slack today, because you're wonderful, you're great, you're doing well. Just recognize that everything you're doing is what is good enough today, and set your expectations to be a lot more reasonable, because you cannot fit all the grains of sand from the ocean into this one cup. It's a mouthful. That's all for this video. Hope you found it helpful. If you did, press the like button. If you want to see more content like this, press the subscribe button. If you are a founder finding yourself dealing with the issues and the burnout and the stress of growing your innovation or tech-based business, there's a link below in the description you can check out. It's nothing fancy. It's just me explaining what I do, how I work with folks like yourself to shift them from a state of burnout to empowerment. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Stay tuned.